So, Ty, I want to start with Paula's reporting here. Mark Meadows wants to change the venue to try and avoid the charges, open himself up possibly to a pardon, right? All of those things. He is charged here in the Georgia case, but not by Jack Smith in the federal DOJ case. So, do these charges by Fani Willis change anything for what's at stake for Mark Meadows if he did cooperate with Jack Smith on the federal case, as I know you think he did?
Yes, I don't have any doubt that he cooperated in the federal case, and the fact that he didn't have immunity or whatever deal he got with the feds with Fani Willis does not indicate that he did not cooperate with the feds. I think he was very active on their behalf. With regard to his attempt to move the venue to and move the case to federal court, of the 19 defendants, I think Meadows is the only person with an arguable chance of succeeding. He's charged in the RICO count and then 2 counts related to the telephone call with Brad Raffensperger, where Trump asked for one more vote than they had. As I believe his motion reflects, he's charged essentially with setting up and attending meetings, doing scheduling, and going to a federal building, which is actually not compelling for keeping it in state court. I think there is a chance, not necessarily a great chance, but there's a decent chance that Mark Meadows' case could be removed. Trump can never be removed. None of the other defendants actually have the benefit of federal service during the time of the offenses that would qualify them under this statute.
So, all right, it's an interesting view that you think Meadows has a chance. I know you're not overemphasizing that, but you do think he has a chance. So what about how this moves? I mean, Fani Willis made it clear she wants to move fast, wants to get going within 6 months. Is there any chance, first of all, Ty, that Fani Willis goes before Jack Smith?
No. There's no chance, in my view, that Fani Willis goes, within 2 years.
2 years?
There will be, yes, that would be my estimated time. There are 19 defendants. There are different charges. Everybody will have motions galore. I disagree with some of the reporting I heard today where people were saying not only do they have the motions, but then they'll be able to appeal the motions. The reality is you don't get to appeal a lot of trial court motions absent the permission of the judge or a constitutional opportunity. So I wouldn't worry so much about that, but this case will take a long time to prepare. There will be motions for severance, motions to dismiss. And if it takes her, 2 years, I mean, heaven forbid that Trump wins the presidency, then there will be a fight to the Supreme Court over whether she can proceed against the sitting president during his term. That's an issue that's never been resolved. The federal prosecutors are not allowed to indict or prosecute a president during his term. But as to state court prosecutors, that issue has never been resolved and could delay things quite some time.
So what is your bottom line in terms of the quality of the case? I mean, the timing here, obviously, you're saying would be quite protracted at best. But what's your bottom line?
I think this is I think this is a very effective indictment. Don't get me wrong. The 161 specific acts. She's got a lot of proof as to the bulk of those. My only criticism, I disagree with Chris Christie, but in a principled way. I think it was important to Georgia and certainly important to her to have Trump as a defendant. It would be a little hard to explain to the jury why you have all these acolytes, but not the kingpin in a RICO case. So I think she did the right thing in indicting Trump. I think she did add some pretty fringe defendants. I'm not sure Jenna Ellis, who was never making policy decisions or independent decisions, or some of the local attorneys who were merely, serving the wishes of Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani. And I'm not sure she can prove that, they believed that they were being lied to. I think there's some fringe defendants that raise issues for her. But the core of this against Trump and the significant defendants is a very, very strong case.
All right, so Trump says he's going to be giving a, quote, major news conference, his words, obviously. He says he will present a large, complex, detailed, but irrefutable report on the presidential election fraud which took place in Georgia. Of course, Ty, there was no fraud in Georgia. Right? Brian Kemp is as conservative as a Republican comes, and he has been very loud and clear that there's no fraud in Georgia. Audit, audit, audit. It's ridiculous to even go through it. But yet this is what the former president is going to do next week and to try to flood the airwaves with. What is he doing with that?
Yeah, this is all Trump, PR. This is, generating chaos. I mean, frankly, there's a good chance that whatever document he produces ends up as evidence against him. It could even end up, as the basis for an obstruction count against the author, because it's likely to be fiction and solely for the purpose of contaminating the jury pool. The reality is, Brian Kemp and Brad Raffensperger each deserve, a pat on the back for the courage that they've shown, putting, country before party. And I think, the absence of evidence of fraud is patently obvious to anybody who's followed the Georgia events, and certainly anybody who reads this indictment will be able to see how fraudulently those claims were made.
All right, Ty Cobb, thank you very much. I appreciate it.